Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
All right, Brad, consider yourself lucky. There are hockey gods looking out for you because I had a whole segment, like subsections and bits and side jabs. I was going to get a clown hired and everything for a harass Brad with hypothetical bad Pierre-Luc Dubois to Detroit trades. And the hockey gods have graced you with the mercy of him being traded before this episode. So I don't know what you did to deserve this, but you cashed in a lot of good luck this weekend, my friend.
No, I don't want to cash in any of the good luck. I need it for about 20 minutes from now.
Brad's Buffalo Bills are in the conference championship. Okay, look, I actually should say this now. We're recording at about just before 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night, and I tweeted this, and I've already gotten some angry responses. But look, it's been a garbage weekend for Detroit sports fans in so many ways. I'm not going to stop literally crying about the news that the expected news, but still the news that Matt Stafford's going to leave, and having to watch what we did with Detroit and Chicago on Friday and again today was abysmal. Just a garbage weekend all around, but watching the Packers beat themselves and lose in the conference championship. I know there's a lot of Red Wings Packers fans. A lot of you are suffering with that condition, and to you guys, know that this is coming from a Lions fan, so before you get too upset by it, I have literally no ground to stand on, but I say it sparks joy, and it made the weekend a little better.
I mean, when you have a 4th and goal with about 2 minutes left, down by 8, and you decide to kick a field goal, you deserve to lose that game. They never got the ball back because their awful defense continued to be awful. It's what you deserved.
When you have an MVP-led offense and you do that, I'm sorry. Also, Aaron Rodgers is a more mobile quarterback. He could have ran that in on 3rd down.
Yes. Yeah. We had it on in the background at work about 10 minutes before we left, and we there was only 3 of us there, but we all were like, why did you even attempt that pass?
Anyways, for all of you listening who are Packers fans, as you're getting angry at me for bringing this up because I know there's a blown call or something at the end, just think of all the times you've made me read out "Go Packers" on this podcast in the overtime section. So, there is a lot to dissect in this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast that isn't so positive. I liked our little streak of positivity, but as today unfolded, I went, oh no. This might not be a very happy episode. So
it's a happy episode because I get to analyze the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, and it's not involving the Red Wings.
Yeah, that's about the extent of it. And that's a fun trade too.
Oh, it's a very fun trade.
So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
I'm in a hurry.
And I'm Evan.
What do you guys, in a hurry, it'll be up to you what we want to do first. Do you want to talk about the games or do you want to talk about the trade first?
Let's talk about the trade. That's more fun.
I literally just watched a spider crawl up its web to the ceiling on Brad's screen. I'm not kidding. There was a spider on like the top right of your screen.
So that would be my left?
Yeah. And it just like it wound up the web. For those of you on YouTube, rewind like 10 seconds and look at the top right.
That sums up our friendships completely right there. It's enough friendship to warn him after the fact.
Yes.
But not enough to be like, oh my God, watch
100%.
There's just roof there. Why can I not see him?
Dangerous spider. Anyways, this will be Brad's last episode on the podcast. Death by spider incoming.
Or next episode, I will literally be Spider-Man.
Oh God, that'd be so annoying if you were Spider-Man. You would be the most annoying Spider-Man. Anyways, what did you choose? Pierre-Luc Dubois or the games?
I said Dubois because that's more fun.
Dubois. Okay. The Pierre-Luc Dubois rumors heated up very fast after he sat essentially an entire game. He played 4 minutes in the first period on like Thursday or something. And Thursday or Friday. It was a terrible shift or first period for him. He had a shift where he essentially just didn't do anything, coasted, gave zero effort out there. just bad hockey, and he got sat for the rest of the game by Tortorella. That sparked a fire. The trade rumors heated up. Detroit again was rumored to be one of the teams in on him that was circling back, but it turned out that Winnipeg had the best offer that held, which was Laine and Roslovic for Dubois and a third-round pick.
Yep. Happy it's over. Weird that we call it the Dubois trade, because I actually think Laine is the better player, but we'll get into that. After reading a lot of reactions, I think I'm in the heavy minority here. Not even small, like heavy minority. That I thought Columbus won this trade pretty comfortably, actually, especially considering the hard spot they were put in. Like, Winnipeg obviously had Roslovic and Laine demanding trades as well. But Laine was still playing with a good attitude. There wasn't any, well, the one game he played before he got hurt, but even his last play as a Winnipeg Jet was an overtime winner. That just dawned on me. Anyways, he's even in his inconsistencies, a 40-goal scorer. That one season where he was up and down the whole time, still put up about 40. And that doesn't grow on trees. And then you throw in Roslovic as well for Pierre-Luc Dubois. I know the third-round pick's a kicker going back the other way, but that's a 10% chance at even a bottom 4 NHLer. So, man, I think Jarmo came out like a bandit here, given what the situation he was put in. Now, that being said, both teams were in an impossible situation. Superstar players demanding trades. And Winnipeg got a good piece. Like, Dubois is going to fill in on their second line center very well. I mean, they are so deep down the middle now, and that's always critical. I don't know. Trade made sense for both teams, but from a value standpoint, I love this trade for Columbus.
It should be added that Winnipeg did retain 26% of Laine's salary, so that's just over $1.75 million that they retained on the deal.
It sounds like a bigger deal than it is until you remember that Laine's deal ends this year.
Yeah,
still a restricted free agent under team control after that, but yeah, that's not a ton of salary retained.
So, I don't know. I think you're right, Brad, in that Columbus got great value here for a player who's demanding a trade in the system, in the way where Columbus handles trade requests. Like, Tortorella's whole, when a guy wants a trade request, he puts it out in the open, and we're very honest, open room. Like, after the third time that happens, I don't buy that as a team thing. I think that's a Tortorella trying to, like, ostracize the guy kind of thing. And I've had a lot of good things to say about Tortorella in his time with Columbus. And I still think that shouldn't be overlooked, but Dubois' value can't have been as high as it should have been because of how public this whole ordeal was. And when you have a player publicly demanding a trade, and then when everyone is losing their minds over a shift, it was a bad shift, but it was one shift. Like, you can't write off the player because of it. I'm impressed that Jarmo got the value that he did. It was kind of a perfect storm of sorts, because the whole Laine departure from Winnipeg thing has been rumored for some time, and it was kind of a known secret that those two weren't getting along, and that wasn't destined to be a long-term marriage. So, yeah, I mean, if you can turn Pierre-Luc Dubois and a third into a game-breaking goal scorer when he's on his game in Laine, as well as Jack Roslovic, like, good for you. That's we can debate the value for either team, and I think this makes sense for either team in a lot of ways. But yeah, Jarmo Kekalainen has shown again to be able to get value. Keeping Laine will be integral in maintaining that value, though, because if you gave up Dubois for 1 year Laine or however much longer until he leaves, then well, that's different.
Dubois is only under a 2-year contract. I don't know why that was such a huge talking point. They're both restricted free agents at the end of their contracts, so the team can keep them however long they'd like, and if they demand trades, well, you get value out of that trade at that point then. Circling back to the one point you talked about, though, I'm not buying into this Tortorella thing at all. Even if you're right and he's putting Dubois on blast, I'm fine with that. I mean, I try to put myself in the shoes of Dubois' teammate in this scenario. Of course, everybody's going to put on a good face and be friendly, and nobody's going to be like throwing shit at Dubois as he's trying to put his gear on, or, cutting his stick in half so he goes out and falls on it and warm up. Like, none of that crap, obviously. But if I had a teammate who was demanding a trade, and it wasn't for some blatantly obvious reason, like when Travis Hamonic demanded a trade out of the Islanders because he wanted to get back to Canada to be closer to his family, fine. Like I'll never fault the guy for that. But Dubois wanting out for a bigger stage, if I'm his teammate sitting there, I'm thinking, what, you think you're too good for us? What's wrong with what we have here? Again, this is not stuff I would ever say to Dubois, or I wouldn't even make it toxic. But if I'm a teammate, that doesn't sit well with me. Unless you have a damn good reason to not want to be here, why don't you want to be here? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with this team? Because if you want a good NHL team, you have to be willing to go to hell and back for your teammates. So whether or not Dubois putting out an effort, that's a debate that I'm not getting into. He had a bad shift. It happens. Who cares? But I need to be able to trust my teammates when I'm on the ice. And if I was one of Dubois' teammates, that wouldn't have been there as soon as that trade demand went out.
Well, what's wrong with the team is that it exists within Ohio, and so that should be less than enough as to why he wanted out.
Well, they'll both be used to playing in desolate wastelands.
Yeah,
so it's
honestly.
not that much of a transition.
What was the one tweet? Dubois wanted out of Ohio, so he got sent to Canadian Ohio, and Laine wanted out of Manitoba, so he got sent to American Manitoba.
I'm not even sure that's accurate, but it's just close enough to be funny.
Yeah. Oh, it's close enough that we don't need to nitpick here.
Yeah. Look, part of this has been like the downplaying of Dubois as a player. And I know, Brad, you're not entirely high on him, and I think that's where we come in differently. I still think a 22-year-old center with Dubois' abilities, like, yeah, sure, this season, like the start of the season, didn't go the same as the way it did in the bubble for him, where he just completely was lights out. But that's a great get. Like, you do not have that asset on the market a lot. And I have to applaud Winnipeg. It's a tough trade to make, giving up Laine and Roslovic, but if you're going to give those guys up and you get a top center who's young and cap controlled, like, that's a good haul.
So, again, yeah, I differ. I don't think Pierre-Luc Dubois is a bad player. I mean, he's a 0.7 career points per game player with bad defensive metrics. I mean, I know because he's big, he gets labeled as a two-way center. I mean, the underlying numbers so far say that isn't the case in his career. He is a good play driver offensively, though, and that 0.7 points per game seems to be lower than where it should be relative to what he's generating, which part of that probably has to do with not having a great supporting cast in Columbus, and he's obviously going to get that in Winnipeg because they've got forwards coming out the ass. So I'm curious because I do expect to see some improvement from Dubois here. Again, to me, that doesn't equate a 40-goal score. If the trade was Dubois for Laine straight up, I still favor Columbus in this deal. Roslovic's just the cherry on top. But, I mean, positional need gets overvalued in the draft, in trades, in the NHL in general. The number one rule should be acquire talent. Figure out the rest however you have to. If you can trade for a better player, but he's at a lower position of need, get the better player, because then you can trade the better player for another better player at a different position that you need, right? Like, if it doesn't work out in Columbus, are they going to be upset if they flip Laine for a top 2 defenseman? No, of course not. So, I don't know. And again, I saw some people saying on Twitter that goals are overrated, which is odd to me. Like, yeah, I understand. I understand the context they were getting at, but I mean, 40 goal scorers don't grow on trees. Look at the Red Wings power play right now. Just put Patrick Laine out there right now, even with the garbage system that the Red Wings have, and that power play goes up 3-4% just with him sitting on that off wing. So, yeah, again, it makes sense for Winnipeg. I'm just from a value standpoint, I'm going to argue Columbus here because I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is not better than Larkin. And Larkin, we've had debates for years. Is he a true number one center on a cup contender? The counter argument to that, when we talked about in context with Detroit, is if you have two of those, then yeah, and that's fair. But obviously he didn't go to Detroit and he went to a deep center team. But are you trading a possible perennial 40-goal scorer for a guy who's going to play on your second line? To me, no. And I understand that Laine sometimes played on Winnipeg's second line, so it's kind of a moot point. But again, Winnipeg's stacked, so they're not the every team comparison. So I don't know. I don't have super strong feelings about this trade one way or another, but it is what it is.
Well, Laine will fit into Columbus really well because his ping will be way better in Fortnite, closer to those East Coast servers. Have a way better time.
Yeah, if I'm Patrick Laine right now, my number one question is who the hell is getting me the puck?
Well,
number one center, franchise center, Max Domi.
unironically, you have to be happy that they brought them in if you're Columbus, right? Because who else is there?
Roslovic,
yeah, that's it. They're going to have to figure out their center depth, but hey, it's not like they had a lot to say in this matter. It's become a trend with Columbus. Look, I joke about Ohio or whatever. There's tons of players who play in, non-traditional markets or smaller markets who don't want to leave en masse. And for them to lose the star talent that they have over the past few years, Columbus has to figure out what the hell's going on, and they need to fix it because they cannot afford to keep doing this. At some point, they're going to run out of runway, and they are going to crash and ruin what should have been a contending window because all of their star players want to leave. What that could be, the obvious answer here, a lot of people will jump to is John Tortorella. Is he, pushing guys out of the room? I don't think I've seen enough to say that Tortorella has become an issue in a locker room again. He has that history, yeah. A big test of that is going to be how Patrick Laine is going to fit in. Patrick Laine has had, despite being a 40-goal pace goal scorer since he's come into the NHL, he's had questions about his effort. He's been hot and cold. There's been questions about him buying into the team system. He's clashed with management and coaches, whatever it might be. Not to a dramatic degree, but that's kind of why he was on the outs in Winnipeg, because teams typically don't trade 40 goal scorers. How he and Tortorella get along and what Tortorella is able to get out of Laine is going to say a lot about his standing in that locker room and his future with Columbus, in my mind.
Yeah, and a few former players have come out in support of Tortorella since that narrative has been thrown around since the trade was made. They're like, yeah, he's tough, but like you want to run through a wall for the guy. So, if you can't handle tough love, what are you doing in the NHL getting paid millions of dollars to play hockey? Scotty Bowman was the same way, and he's viewed as the greatest coach in the history of hockey. So, I don't buy that he's tough is a bad thing. And let's not forget, people criticize Laine for his two-way game and his play away from the puck, and last season it was noticeably improved. So he's a guy who's willing to listen to instruction. I understand before that he was labeled a floater and lazy, and in a lot of ways it looked very accurate. He flipped the switch on that. Not that he's ever going to win a Selke or run a bunch of guys through the wall, but it was noticeable. And the numbers backed it up. The eye test backed it up. So I'm not buying this, Patrick Laine and John Tortorella, yuck, 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 they're going to hate each other. Not buying it, not even for a second. John Tortorella won a Stanley Cup with Vincent Lecavalier, who had the same reputation early in his career. Don't buy it.
Nice thing about Tortorella is he lets his players know exactly where they stand. There is no bullshit. It's just, this is what he just tells you straight up. And if you don't like it, well, that's too bad. You're a professional. Deal with it. He doesn't do the bullshit. It's some guys like that. Some guys don't. And I bet if you get on John Tortorella's bad side, it's not fun. So score 40 goals.
Yeah. Brad, is that a Mika tantrum going on in the background, or is that Hank?
Hank does not want to go to bed right now.
Well, it's 6:45. Who would want to? The Bills are playing.
I'm ready for bed. Sleep? I played 2 hours of pond hockey today. I'll be in a body cast tomorrow.
Which one did you go to?
Well, this is going to be a classic Evanism. A friend of mine has a private lake.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Piss off, bro. Who is this guy?
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. But yeah, we know body bag.
We know more about deep space than we know about Evan. I'm convinced. We've mapped more of the ocean floor than we have of Evan's psyche. Okay. I'm going to jump us over to the Red Wings. Their 2 games against Chicago in their latest little mini series that capped off today. And I'm going to start off with a little, not rant, just a statement here. For any Red Wings fans who thought that this season would be highlighted with constant wins and actual competition for a playoff spot and dominant fun hockey every game. I'm sorry, but you were wrong and your expectations were way off. For Red Wings, I'm still going. For Red Wings players and the Red Wings coaching staff to put out the effort that they did over the past 2 games and think that that effort is worthwhile of the fans' eyes and worthy of any expectations this season, they are also wrong. We don't need the Red Wings to be dominant this season, but the team has to do a lot better, a hell of a lot better than they did over the last 120 minutes of play. It was sad. It was mostly sad. There were small spurts of, this is actually not bad, or that player did well, or this line's actually turning up okay. But overall, what a pathetic effort from the Red Wings against in both games against the Blackhawks.
And the number one excuse I saw from fans who are trying to justify it was, oh yeah, well they have 5 players on the COVID list, including Robbie Fabry, Philip Zadina, and John Merrill. And yeah, the Ernie and Gagne are pretty inconsequential. They were playing on the 4th line before it went down. Fine. Obviously missing Fabry and Zadina and Merrill is going to hinder the Red Wings hugely. Nobody's going to argue that point. Here's the thing. The Red Wings were a bad team to begin with, so losing those 3 makes them worse. The Chicago Blackhawks were a bad team to begin with, and they were missing Jonathan Toews and Kirby Dach. Are you trading Dach and Toews for Zadina, Fabry, and Merrill if you're the Red Wings? Yes, 1,000 times out of 1,000. So, I'm sorry, that's not an excuse. There was no aspect in the game of hockey in either of these games where the Red Wings were even competent. It was pitiful. The defense was lost. The offense didn't generate anything. The goaltending was fine, which is a big downgrade from where it was the first 4 games. And the coaching was non-existent. Like, it started right from Friday night when the lineup got released. They were doing that garbage 11 forward, 7 defenseman thing, even though they recalled Giovanni Smith, and the lines were all jumbled, and you could tell the forwards couldn't get a rhythm because they didn't know who they were playing with. Shift a goddamn shift. And the defense were all over the place, and you could tell out of sync, and whatever. When you lose 5 guys to COVID, that's going to happen. You'd like to have seen a proper lineup at that point, whatever. You think you'd learn your lesson the next game. Nope. It took till game 6 before we saw top 6 forward Luke Glendening.
That may actually be a record, though.
Yeah, for longest it's taken. Yeah, honestly. But it's comical how bad the Red Wings were. Again, if these 2 games happened as they did, but to the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's still unacceptable, but I don't think anybody's freaking out right now. This was maybe the next worst team in the NHL to the Red Wings. And the Red Wings made them look like a cup contender.
They had let in not an average of 5 goals over the last 4 games. Literally every one of the last 4 games the Chicago Blackhawks had played before they played Detroit, they let in 5 goals. 20 goals in 4 games, and Detroit managed 3 in the next 2 against them. I'm sorry, that is not okay.
No, and it's easy to blame the players, and don't get me wrong, the players shoulder a lot of this because the effort was, outside of Larkin and Bertuzzi, I'd say lackadaisical would be kind. There was a handful of other players like Brome and Glendening who you could tell were moving, but let's be honest, as much as we've been on the Brome hype train, he's not a game changer. So if he's one of the very few guys you have going, you're not winning that game. And again, I'm going to get into this now because I know it was all the rage on Twitter, and I sure as hell was fueling the fire.
You fueling a fire?
Weird, right? Again, it's easy to overreact 6 games in, but I've been banging this drum for 3 years, so I'm not overreacting. There's no reason Jeff Blashill should be the coach of the Red Wings anymore. And before this sounds too cold and harsh, I understand Jeff Blashill's probably a smart dude, a good guy. Everybody who's ever met Jeff Blashill has absolutely nothing but nice things to say about him. That is fine. And I hate seeing people get fired. We look at this as our entertainment, which it is, and these players are just video game characters, and the coaches are video game characters. They don't matter. So Jeff Blashill losing his job is a very real thing happening to a very real person, and that sucks. But in the end, this is a business. And this team has progressively gotten worse every year that he's been there. Again, look at the roster. Understandable. This was a year we should have seen significant improvement. We were cautiously optimistic after the first 4 games because out of those 4 games, they had one game where I think we can safely say they were the better team. Now, Columbus and Carolina, 2 good teams. So, okay, yeah, they had 2 bad games, 1 decent game and 1 good game, and they came out 2-2. We're happy. That might have been Carolina and Columbus just being rusty. That could have been Columbus in turmoil because Dubois was still on the team there. So that was a very uneasy room. Who knows what happened there? These 2 games just put a big old spotlight on everything that's wrong with the Red Wings. Defensive zone positioning is a train wreck. There is no breakout. There is no transition game. I sent out a tweet that probably sounded sarcastic today, but it was literal. I wanted to criticize the Red Wings systems in all 3 zones about, their defensive zone positioning, their offensive cycle, especially their transition game. I literally can't figure out what it is. I have figured out that they really, really like the short side, straight up the boards pass to a forward standing still. And I have figured out they love, I'm not even going to call it the dump and chase because there's not really much of a chase. It's pass to a stationary forward in the neutral zone. He dumps it in. Other team retrieves the puck. Every once in a while we get lucky and Larkin or Bertuzzi or whoever just kind of has a good rush by themselves and they get a zone entry and the Red Wings get some pressure. Very few and far between, but some. So it's easy to say this team is bad and that's why, so it's not on Blashill. I'm not buying it. The penalty kill sucks. That's on coaching. The power play sucks. That's on coaching. Prashanth had a whole thread with pictures and illustrations of why the Red Wings power play sucks. There's no passing lanes. There's no movement. It's poor positioning, poor strategy, 1,000% coaching. Everything he pointed out was a coaching error. Not having a recognizable breakout is a coaching problem. Playing nothing but chip and chase hockey is a coaching problem. You can argue, well, yeah, they don't have the talent to play anything other than a chip and chase. I don't care. The chip and chase isn't working. Try something else. If they try the Russian 5 style of possession hockey and it doesn't work, all right, fine, you tried it. It didn't work. Try something else. Let the players determine what works and what doesn't. Like, they've been running the same stupid bullshit umbrella with a dedicated net front on the power play for years. It hasn't worked. The Red Wings have good net front power play players. It doesn't work. Try something else. Passive's not the right word, but they have a very low aggression defensive philosophy. It doesn't work. At some point, something has to change. And guess what? The roster's not getting better. It did get better on the offseason, but 3 to 4 of the 6 games so far this year, it hasn't looked better. At worst, 2. The Red Wings last year looked like a somewhat competent team at least every 3rd game. So if they're holding that pace this year, that's not good enough. There was supposed to be massive improvement this year. They added more wins above replacement than any team in the league. So I'm tired of it. He's the 3rd longest tenured coach in the league, and I've never seen a redeeming trait about him as a coach in terms of the on-ice play. I don't care how good of a teacher he is in the background. I don't care how much the players like him. We're at the point now where he's actively hurting the future of this team because look at Anthony Mantha's bad habits that have crept into his game. He's been garbage the first 6 games. Like, unless he's battling an illness or a sickness, it's on the coach to get him going. Plain and simple. I mean, you can argue, well, Larkin and Bertuzzi and Zadina have gotten better under his tenure. Those guys are highly skilled. They're the best players on the team. Of course they were going to get better. You can't praise Blashill every time a good player gets good. I'm sorry. I don't see the player development. Who's the guy that wasn't expected to be great that got good under Blashill? Michael Rasmussen? No. Taro Hirose? No. Dennis Cholowski? No. You can make a case for Filip Hronek, sure, but the first 6 games of this season, Filip Hronek's looked pretty bad. He's regressed, so that's a no. The goalies? Sure, because he's given them a lot of work. I mean, that's a lot of words to say. I am done with Blashill as the coach. I don't care how you feel about tanking and him leading us to a better pick this year. Doesn't matter. He's legitimately doing long-term damage to this team now. And it's been over 5 goddamn years of this. I'm almost at the point, I don't think no matter how the rest of the season goes, my opinion's going to change. Because unless I see something absolutely dramatic change in his philosophy, his everything, like his lineups, his systems, his freaking personnel decisions, until I see everything change, I don't see a way out.
And that was Brad's Mike Milbury 11 minutes. So thank you all for tuning into that. No,
that was pent up for a while. I was trying to not do that like 2 games into the season or 3 games into the season, and everybody just be like, Brad, come on, you gotta give him more than 6 games. Well, no, I don't. Not anymore. It's been 5 years. No.
The worst part about Red Wings hockey is how boring it is. If we were playing run and gun, like just no defense, like 6-5 games, I would feel a lot better about this team. At least for scoring. At least it's interesting, you know. But it's like 6-2 today. I don't even remember the other scores because that's how bad the games were. I don't remember what the scores were because they're so boring. So it's really tough to watch.
Yeah.
I feel like our Discord is just a support group at this point during the games. It's like it's one person talks and everybody listens, and then we try to comfort them out of their depression.
I'm in it just for the Evan memes, honestly.
But the thing is, Evan's complaining about boring, which objectively is just an entertainment complaint. It's not. This is what Blashill coaches to, low event hockey, and there is some logic to that when you have a weak team. Again, try something else. I would love to see Zadina and Bobby Ryan and Dylan Larkin and Anthony Mantha flex their offensive creativity and lose every game 5-4. I'm totally okay with that. You can teach defensive systems. Let's not beat the creativity out of these players before they even get a chance to develop it at the NHL level.
Speaking of entertainment, how could you be bored when Mickey Redmond says bitchin' on live TV? I love that. Mickey Redmond has run out of fucks to give. Like, he is just all out. He does not care and is hysterical. What was it? Zadorov was bitching at the referee. I was like, oh man, Mick, I love you.
Mick is going to get us through this season.
Honestly, him and Ken Daniels, I think it was, who was it? Yeah, Ken Daniels goes, Nielsen has scored a lot in his career. Mick goes, not in Detroit.
He is our spirit animal.
Honestly, those two are going to get us through the season. Yeah, the first game, the only nice thing that happened was, besides legitimately the Mickey Redmond making us all laugh, was Larkin scored a beautiful goal like towards the end of the game. Nothing else happened. And then the next game, I was like, well, that was a really shit game. Like, that was a terrible effort. They have to come out and do something different. And like Brad very eloquently put to you, and I'm not even saying that ironically, Brad, you hit a lot of points there. It was a terrible effort all around. I thought the Bertuzzi, Larkin, Brome line looked good, and that's not surprising because Larkin has been consistently good for Detroit, and Bertuzzi and Brome work super well together, as we've seen. Mantha was awful. A goal was directly his fault today. And yeah, I agree with you, Brad. A lot of that does go on Blashill, but provided that there isn't something that we're not seeing here, like an injury or an illness or something else, Mantha has to own this too. You just signed a contract for big boy money, and you made a public statement talking about how you want to earn more. Go out there, play like the big man that you are, and dominate play like we've seen you do. Anthony Mantha should be held to a higher standard than other Red Wings players because he is objectively the most skilled player on the Red Wings. And he should not be worse than Matthias Brome out there. And that's not a knock on Brome.
Again, Brome is not a game changer, and it's a testament to Anthony Mantha's skill and who Anthony Mantha is as a player and why we hold him to such high standards that he has played the 6 worst games of his professional hockey career, and he still has 3 points. Like, he has the talent. And again, it's on him. Of course it's on him. It's on him more than it's on Blashill to get going. If he is this, like, cripplingly hurt or sick or whatever, okay, maybe he needs to rest a few games. Fine. We know the season doesn't matter. I'd rather have 100% of Anthony Mantha for 40 games than 50% of Anthony Mantha for 56 games. And he's looked like 50% of Anthony Mantha, which, hey, coincidentally, he's got 0.5 points per game, which is, we all thought he might hit a point per game this year. So, hey, very on brand. Yeah, just, I don't know what's wrong with him because, again, it can't just be an effort thing because why wasn't this part of his game for the last 4 years? This is new. And that's the concerning part because part of me for the first 3-4 games was like, no, it's not effort. It's not effort. It's not effort. It can't be effort. After 6 games, if it was illness or injury, I would have expected that to have improved by now. It hasn't.
I'm going to jump back here to Blashill because, mostly, Brad, we skate past this question when you bring it up. But I think it's worth bringing up now. Like, Blashill, we said before the season that his test is not, or his target was not to become a playoff team or win anything significant. It was legitimately just to bring this roster to a point where the win column and the performance on the ice reflected the changes that Steve Yzerman made to the roster in the offseason, which, as you said, Brad, they improved it a lot. Addition by subtraction and also filling in a lot of holes with sufficient players. Are they all stars? No. Of course, we have the next Hart Trophy winner, Bobby Ryan, on the team. But besides that, these are players who can just play up to speed, who can play passable hockey and not be completely decrepit like Detroit has had in the past and like they continue to have with, the Franz Nielsen types. That's Blashill's test. I'm still saying at 6 games in theory, it can change, but every single day and today more than any other day in Blashill's tenure, I have moved towards he is not going to change. He is not going to get better at this. I don't see a solution or a long-term future with him in Detroit. If Yzerman wanted to wait till the end of the season, I would not be surprised, and I wouldn't even blame him. But if he did it now, I would. This sounds like a pussyfooting around the question or like fence sitting. If he waited, I wouldn't blame him. But if Yzerman fired Blashill now, I would be in support of it for the reasons Brad stated. I'm not actively calling for it, but at this point, I'm not inspired by it, and I don't think my mind's going to change.
I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen now. If I expect him to finish the season with the Red Wings, as disappointing as that is, Yzerman's proven to be very, very patient most of the time for the good. So you got to take the good with the bad when it comes to someone who's very, very patient. It's just hard because if this is one of those situations and you're like, well, yeah, Blashill's not a great coach, but it's a write-off season and really who's sitting out there? Fine. You go with the evil you have versus the evil you don't. Gerard Gallant still sitting out there.
Mike Babcock says he's looking for another position.
We're going to get into that later, but I don't know. It's just not that I'm not even going to go in about Gerard Gallant specifically, but I'm going to talk about him because of what he is as a coach. To me, is exactly what the Red Wings are. When he got hired to the expansion Vegas Golden Knights, that team overachieved. There's no question about it. They were better on paper than we gave them credit for. So the fact that they were good shouldn't have been all that surprising, but they weren't Stanley Cup Finals good. I don't care what anybody says. They weren't that good. And what Gallant is what I want the Red Wings to be. Hyper aggressive, 2-man forecheck, quick transitions, hounding the puck constantly, just a catastrophic pain in the ass to play against. That's what I want the Red Wings to be. If you can't have skill, be a pain in the ass. The Red Wings are neither right now, and that's a problem.
Evan, where do you fall on it? Babcock, do you want to see him stay out the season?
I'm already dead inside, so nothing else can really hurt me at this point. The Red Wings do have a better points percentage than they did last year, although it's very apples to oranges in terms of sample size. But what, Brad? What do you want?
The Bills are playing, so anytime Brad reacts visually, it's a Bills thing.
10-0, 9-0 Buffalo.
Oh, well, then we have to keep podcasting until the game's over at this point.
Yeah, we can't. It's good.
You can't watch. You can't watch the game now. Tonight. This is going to be a 6-hour episode because football games are way too long.
Oh, the render time on the video. No.
What was I saying? Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm just so indifferent on the subject. I have no opinion, but I don't see how Jeff Blashill could be a coach to push this team as they become better. I don't see it right now. Maybe that's because he's always had a bad team and it's always been losing and it's been painful. But you've seen what some of the coaches out there who don't have a team or a job right now have done with previous teams who overachieved. So it's tough. I just really wish it wasn't so boring and painful to watch. And if bringing in another coach changes the systems to at least be somewhat entertaining and we see some creativity out there and some risk, I would be for that. So if that means getting rid of Blashill, then I would be for that.
My only thing is, Brad talked about the power play before in reference Prashant's thread, which I'm happy about, because my feeling on the power play right now is that whenever it works, it's an accident, like at best.
It literally was. So look at, I forget what goal of the game. It was, I believe, the second goal of the game, Tyler Bertuzzi's power play goal today. And that's going to get a tick on the stat sheet. And every once in a while you get lucky. So I understand that's part of all power play percentages. That was a horrific play that they got lucky. It was a bad entry that was recovered by Larkin. It was bad half wall play where Larkin was able to spin out of it and keep the play alive and get it back to Hronek at the point. That was a piss poor point shot and decision to take that point shot. And it was bad rebound control by the goalie. And it literally just happened to land on Bertuzzi's stick as he was cruising by. Like, great, good on Larkin to keep the play alive, and good on Bertuzzi to be Johnny on the spot. But everything about that play, 99 out of 100 times, doesn't result in a goal. It's just, like Ryan, you phrased it perfectly. That was an accidental power play goal. Every time the Red Wings have the puck on the half wall on the power play, I want everybody to pay attention to this because it's happened about 1,000% of the time. Normally it's Mantha who's the trigger man on that side. He has the puck and he doesn't have the shooting lane. Look across the ice. He doesn't have a passing lane. When Larkin has it on the other side, look across the ice. He doesn't have a passing lane. That's the power play structure because they're not manufacturing offense, which is a phrase that gets used in football a lot, but it applies in hockey as well. They need to manufacture offense when you have a low skill team. They don't. They don't move. They're in the wrong spots. They don't even utilize the bumper. They might as well just throw two guys on top of the crease at this point. That bumper guy, he's there, but he's not. And this is where handedness matters. If you're going to run the power play off the right half wall, you need a right shot in the bumper, and they don't do it. Not that they have a ton of right shot options, but still. If you don't have a right shot option, cool, run it off the left half wall. It's everything about their power play is just flawed. Everything.
So all of it is the power play is run by Dan Bilesma, and that's why I think if the coach is going to be replaced, I want the new coach to have, carte blanche on his staff. I don't want it to be Dan Bilesma comes in as the interim, or I don't want it to be they come in a new coach but keeps the assistants. Much the same as the Lions, I feel like the Red Wings coaching staff needs a reset. At this point, bring in Dan Campbell and have him bite some kneecaps. I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, by the way.
You know what? I've embraced it. I really have. I'm just like, yes, it's insane, but screw it. It's hilarious.
Embrace the chaos.
What else do I have, Brad?
Fair enough. This is fair.
I have Matt Stafford's jersey hanging in front of me, and every time I look at it, it makes me sad. All I have are cheap pot shots at Packers fans and a head coach who, for better or for worse, has everyone trying to, run through a wall for him, and he hasn't even coached a single game for the Lions yet. So screw it. I want a Mike Milbury minute to talk about Mike Babcock.
Okay.
Oh, this will be good.
Who's going to time it?
This is Ryan's favorite topic.
I'm pulling it up as we speak.
Oh, boy.
We've got a timer at the bottom of Squadcast we can use.
I'm ready whenever. I'll hold it up to the camera for you, Ryan.
All right. Mike Babcock today made his return to the hockey world on NBC Sports, where he basically read out a script, which was his, I'm sorry, but not sorry, but forgive me speech that he had in the Pierre LeBrun article. Look, for the people who are screaming, oh, SJW cancel culture, which surprisingly there weren't a lot of out there on Twitter, so I'm actually kind of happy about that. It is not about the fact that Mike Babcock should never be allowed to return to the hockey world. No, I agree. The guy's a great hockey mind and has something to offer. There needs to be contrition and there needs to be recognition of what he's done. They didn't even say Johan Franzen's name on the broadcast, and the way he framed it was such a gross mischaracterization of what happened, instead making it as if the Mike Commodore types were complaining about ice time and that was the only issue with Babcock that Babcock had as he was a coach. Chris Chelios and Johan Franzen independently corroborated the mental torment that he put Franzen under. This is completely aside from what he did in Toronto. I know my minute is up, but I'm going to keep going. Mike Babcock, it's not about, oh, we can never have Mike Babcock. I never want to see him again. He is gaslighting us. This is gaslighting as if there was never an issue. You guys know, the listeners know, I don't like taking hard opinions on this. People get shitty in comments and they send shitty DMs. It's genuinely not worth my time. But for someone like Mike Babcock to come in and have such a bullshit, weak apology, it's not even an apology. There's not even the recognition of what he did. Everyone who facilitates that is complicit in it, and it's just bad. It's bad for the game. It's bad for the worst parts of hockey culture. It's just bad. Mike, you understand that you've done something wrong. That much is clear enough. Own up to it. Recognize what you've done. You can't just say to everyone, hey, I forgive myself, we're all good. That's not good enough. It's just flat out not good enough. And for NBC to trot him out after getting rid of Mike Milbury for obvious reasons, like, oh my goodness. I wish one day I could be surprised by the stupidity of the people who make these decisions, but wow, it was just, I felt so bad for Johan Franzen watching Mike Babcock go out there and talk to fans like nothing was wrong. And the cherry on top, the bullshit cherry on top, was that this game was taken from Ken and Mick and made a nationally broadcast game. So we didn't even have Ken and Mick to bring us through these games. I'm sorry, that was a Mike Milbury 3 minutes, but fuck.
I totally know why NBC brought in Mike Babcock. Why the hell wouldn't you?
Because he's a shitbag.
They don't care about that.
Yeah, it seems to be their thing, honestly.
They are all about the views. That's, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And maybe this will lower viewers over time. Only that will tell. But having Mike Babcock there makes people tune in, and it's not for the right reasons. And I can understand why people are mad. And like, he's a sociopath for sure.
I saw that going around Twitter today.
He has to be a sociopath. But yeah, I would tune in. I didn't, because I was out on the lake,
out on the ODR.
Yeah, I was out on the ODR. Yeah, it makes sense to me why they did it, but it's not for the right reason.
No, and Ryan's right. If Mike Babcock went on the broadcast day, which, as an aside, maybe a Red Wings game wasn't the best one to start him on.
That's what I was thinking today too.
But either way, if he came on and just 1,000% owned up to everything and issued a sincere apology, and he's like, yeah, I was an absolutely terrible person, and if I could take it all back, I would, but I can't, so I have to, best I can do is try to be a good person from this day forward. Fine. I'll take it. I'm all for second chances. And let's be honest, Mike Babcock's a very bright hockey mind. If he wasn't a shitbag, I would love to hear his insight on hockey games. He's a guy who should actually have good opinions and good insight into the goings on in whatever game he's covering that day. Like, nobody has ever questioned Mike Babcock, the hockey brain. He's just a shitbag. And now we have to deal with another shitbag. At least it's an upgrade over Mike Milbury, who was a shitbag and a moron. So, I guess we got that going for us.
Yeah, the hockey takes got better at least.
Yeah, so it's just stupid. I couldn't believe they did this. I can't say I couldn't believe they did this, but Hey, the TV contract's up soon. Maybe we'll see Fox Sports or an ESPN here, and we'll be at least a little lighter on the Babcock for the coming seasons.
The whole thing, like it would have been so much easier and so less dragged out with this Saw piece by LeBron and all this parade route of, I'll say air quotes, the apology tour. If he had just said what you said, Brad, like it could have been done today in 15 to 30 seconds, and everyone would have probably moved on for the most part. But it's like the continue just, making him sound like the victim and all that crap. It's like, it's so ridiculous. And it's just, but I'm not surprised because he's such a stubborn person. Like everybody knows that from his coaching personality. Why wouldn't that transfer over to everything else? Like, it's just so like, just say sorry. That's literally all you have to do. And he can't do it, which is the craziest part.
My hot take is that he either does exactly what you guys said, or I genuinely, truly mean it when I say I would have preferred him to have not addressed it at all.
My hot take is he's not sorry.
No, he's not. Of course he's not.
Like he's not, because when you listen to him talk, it's basically all about winning. Whatever he can do, that he thinks he can do to maximize a team or a player, he'll do it. So if he thinks, putting Mitch Marner in a room and like saying, tell me who you think has terrible work ethic or worse work ethic than you, and then rats out those players to try and raise them up, or like tries to squeeze more to France by being a complete douche canoe. Like I don't think he had a limit. Like I actually think he feels like that was what he should have done.
Everything you just said, plus the stuff with Mike Modano and
Commodore
and Chris Chelios, and like it was a joke on Twitter, but he is a textbook sociopath. It's all about the me and it's all about the win.
Commodore, you finish your point.
This is textbook sociopathic behavior. I'm like, just saying, like,
the Commodore one for me is the pettiest, because he basically like wanted Mike to come, and like he obviously wouldn't have come if he like wasn't over Mike Babcock being a douche, and he was over it. So he came to Detroit, and then Mike Babcock like rekindled it because he wasn't over their feud, which is like the most like petty playground bullshit.
Oh, and let's not forget the Jason Spezza thing in Toronto too.
Yeah,
just absolute psychopath, sociopath. Just, I hope he's a sociopath, because if not, he might be the biggest like asshole in the history of humanity.
There's a crowd of people who have been responding, some of them more aggressively than others. I love my favorite reply today was Esther cancel culture mobster. I was like, me.
This is right up your alley, Ryan.
Yeah, it's me, the mobster. The response I've been getting is like, no, that's just tough coaching. No, if you want tough coaching, the epitome of doing what Evan said, which is anything you need to win, but walking the line of maintaining humanity, look none other than who Brad referred to in Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman was the textbook example of that. And it's not an easy line to walk. And I'm sure there's people who would complain about Scotty Bowman's methods, but do you see what's been happening with Mike Babcock coming out about Scotty Bowman? No.
Even Mike Keenan, like he was like one of the if there was like the Mount Rushmore of mind games, he's up there with Scotty Bowman. Mm-hmm. And Mike, thank God Mike Keenan coached in Russia forever. Otherwise, he would never be able to show his face in hockey again. But he's by every account an asshole. But he tiptoed that line, probably crossed it more times than not. But he at least like wasn't on this parade of apologies and all this crap. Like, it's just, I think most of us all fit in the same boat where we just roll our eyes when we see this and are just disgusted by it. But yeah.
Nobody should misconstrue this. Like, I mean it when I say, like, I'm not trying to hedge. I'm not trying to walk anything back. I mean it when I say, like, my goal here in talking about this on the podcast and being angry about it and doing the whole Mike Milbury minute, it's not so to build a voice to get Mike Babcock out of our faces and off the screen and he should go away forever. No, that's legitimately not it. It's that if he makes the choice to want to return to hockey, which is a public sphere, I'm sorry, but you have to go through the paces of recognizing what you did that was wrong, making amends, and show growth. I am, just like Brad, all for second chances. I don't want, Mike Babcock gone forever just to whatever. That's not it. I'm not interested in that. I don't think I'm the moral arbiter of the ultimate truth, or we're not some purity test or anything like that. But if you make a tangible wrong, multiple in the ways that you did, and I'm not even talking about playing, Austin Matthews less than 20 minutes in game 7 of a playoff series that you needed to win. Like, I'm talking human mistakes in a sport. It's embarrassing for you, I'm sure, Mike, but you got to go through the paces. But you know what? He's been given the free pass around all those steps straight to forgiveness. There's been nothing else in between. It was mistakes straight to forgiveness, and that's what we all have to accept now.
God, I wish I got that more often.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And the rise and fall and redemption tour of Mike Babcock all happened in Jeff Blashill's tenure as the Red Wings coach. Who'd have saw that coming?
It's like Inception right now. There's like these, we're going into a deeper level all the time. And I don't know what level we're on anymore, but I just want to wake up.
In before Blashill fires Bilesma and hires Babcock as an assistant coach.
Oh, can you imagine? Oh my goodness.
Well,
so I'm going to do my best to not hashtag read the comments on this one, because I know there's people who just won't.
Well,
Didn't
Babcock interview for a team this offseason? Washington.
He'll be back. He's going to coach again.
So for sure.
Yeah, and that's another thing for the people you just want to cancel him. No, Mike Babcock will be bad. We all accept that. Anyways, that's enough. Let's move on to
just be a nice person. Well, just don't be decent.
Be
decent. You don't have to be good.
Evan. You mobster.
Be average,
All right, let's move on to overtime here. Overtime is brought to you by our Winged Wheel podcast patrons. They're the ones who give us the space and the time to scream until we're red in the face. So thank you all, and we're going to read out their comments on air as our way of saying thank you. We're going to start with AJ Voss, who says, typing during the game, so it might not age very well, but Mattva Mitchkov is so snake-bit it hurts. At the time of writing, he has 0 points for the season, but in every game he's looked good and has had chances. He's created a lot of chances for other guys as well, just hasn't been able to get anything to go for one reason or another. There's been flashes where I thought Mitchkov looked effective, but I don't think he's been particularly spectacular. He's a new guy on the team, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it come through for him. I'm going to withhold judgment, but yeah, it's not an ugly 0 point effort so far.
Yeah, he's had his Darren Helm moments of goals that should have been goals, but somehow weren't. Again, he's handcuffed by the system, and he's not a player who's skilled enough to generate on his own, kind of like grab the puck and will a chance to happen like a Larkin or a Mantha can when he's on. So it is what it is. He'll get his chances. They won't be often, but more so than at least half the forwards on this team.
Evans Bingo Card says, is it too early to say that Stahl could be / is worse than Daly or Eriksson were? Dude is lost in the D zone and is good for 2 to 3 bad pinches every game that allow odd men rushes. Just saying, let's try something else maybe. But hey, we got a power play goal, so that's a positive. Oh, and let's not forget Mike Babcock.
I don't know if I'm going to say he was worse. That's a pretty high bar to clear, but the fact that it's even in the conversation is a rough conversation after 6 games.
Andrew Hadel says Babcock's a douche. That is all. Lauren T says, I know I'm not the only one who thinks having Babcock join in on the pregame commentary was a complete slap in the face. It's completely inappropriate that he's allowed to come back and do his little remorse and goodwill tour when he's showing neither. Anyways, like being back to division rivals with Chicago, but also hate being run over by them. Anyways, frick the Blackhawks. When do you think Blash gets fired?
He doesn't. Oh, Blash. I thought you said Babs.
Yeah.
Blash, I don't know. I'm still guessing off season.
Off season is what my guess would be.
Unless the Red Wings go on like an 0-7 streak or something crazy.
They're lining up for one.
Yeah. We'll beat Tampa and Dallas back to back or something.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
We'll get outshot 40-17. Thomas Greiss will make 39 saves, and the Red Wings will win 2-1. We've seen this script before.
Antonio Gracia says, help me understand. I get that Dubois is a good player, but after seeing him float and not caring until Torts benched him, why would a team clamor to sign him? I feel like he's one spat with the coach away from demanding a trade and throwing a fit until he's moved. Unless I'm missing something, I don't know I would want someone on my team if they were willing to just give up like that and pout until they get their way. I know he and Torts didn't get along well, but is there something more going on that I'm not aware of? P.S. Ferk Mike Babcock.
Probably, but I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. You'd have to boil it down to just the Torts thing for now, because that's the only thing we can say. Jeremiah Dubois has fired the entire coaching staff and Babcock again just for the hell of it. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Michael Thompson says, as much as I enjoy the Fratellis, I've heard Chelsea dagger enough this weekend. I know we don't have the talent to execute high-end plays. These blind passes to nobody / empty space are infuriating. I know we're not good, but the lack of basic execution and semblance of any kind of system or structure is horrifying. With hashtag these trying times, I didn't think a coaching change mid-season would be much of a reality, but this trend is inexcusable. The one bright spot has been the FSD broadcast coming unhinged, throwing mad shade and having a bitching time. But now even today that was taken from us and we got to see Ascot covering it. Yeah, Michael, you nailed it, buddy. Michael Barry says, hey guys, hope you're doing okay and that the Bills win. Anyways, there was a report that the Olympics might be canceled. If that's the case, would you be in favor of delaying the season in order for players to get the vaccine? Also, delaying the draft is stupid.
Yeah, I'd rather have a full league vaccinated a month or two behind. Look at how off the rails the season's already gone and we're not even 7 games in. So yeah, it depends. Now, that being said, I've seen projections where some people think like there's going to be enough of a vaccine rollout by the end of September where we'll be close to life as normal. So I'm still taking the optimistic approach by that, because generally on these projections, they err on the side of caution. So if everything overperforms, maybe we get lucky. But again, I'm not an epidemiologist. I have no idea how this shit works. But yeah, if it comes down to delaying the season a month to get the players vaccinated, fine. I'm 1,000% for it.
Jeff Lehman says it's currently 2 p.m. The game starts soon, right? Because it looks like our defense is just trying to run drills, but not taking it very seriously. Edit. So it's 6-2. Isn't there a football game on? I think that'll be more fun.
It was.
Haroon Khan says, hey guys, I'm actually confused when people say Blashill's growing with the team. That's like saying my math professor is learning math and teaching me at the same time. It makes me question, are the Red Wings just bad, or are they bad because of the systems they use? Is Mantha stagnating or hitting a plateau in his development because that's who he is, or is it Blashill's system? What about Athanasiou, Tatar, Svechnikov, Cholowski? This is upsetting because sucking for years, you'd hope to see some improvement from a coach who's supposedly growing with the team. But all he's doing is holding Mantha and Larkin in the young core we do have and tanking the value of the older players. Thanks, guys, and let's go Red Wings.
Yeah, and what was Athanasiou? 4 points in 4 games to start with LA? Just saying.
Evan Beckner says, just turn the game off after goal 4 for the Hawks. I've always scoffed a bit at Brad complaining about Blashill, but I think these last few games have finally flipped me. Team lacks talent, sure, but now lack emotion, consistency, effort, and just about every other attribute a successful team needs to compete. I'm all for sacking Blash just to get some fresh air and maybe light a fire under some of these guys. Alex Pobochik says, I think it may be time for Anthony Mantha to start punching people again. Well, let's not get crazy. Come on now. Sean, maybe that was the source of his strength.
Honestly.
Every punch was 10 goals, but every punch had a 1 in 3 chance of hurting him.
So 2 punches, 20-goal season, we're happy.
Yeah. Sean Chaparella says, hey guys, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back for the team. For me, the big takeaway after this weekend is how much better the team is with Merrill, Zadina, and Fabry. Hopefully these pieces are ones we keep for a few more years, but we still have a lot of old rot that holds the team back. Now for something less depressing, I adopted a cat this weekend and I'm not creative. Any name suggestions for a female cat that can be Wings related? Aggressive people names. Like I'm talking name your cat Terry Sawchuk.
Oh God.
Don't even make it like, who cares about the gender of the name or the gender of the cat? Like literally name your cat like, I don't know. Chris
Anthony Mantha.
That's actually really good. I like that.
That's my contribution. I have nothing else.
Name your cat Evan. I'll give you $5 to name your cat Evan.
Evan, what's your cat's actual name?
Alfie.
What do you call him?
Fred.
Okay, name him Alfie.
Yeah. And call him Fred.
Or name him Fred, call him Alfie.
Yeah, that would be good too. Besides that, Anthony Mantha would be good. Although people would think it's after a Pokemon.
That also works.
Yeah, that's true. Ghost of Podcast Pass says, guys, I know why Mantha has been terrible. I have 2 fantasy hockey teams, and for the last round of each of them, I drafted Mantha. Obviously, I can't be happy, and the hockey gods know this, so they made Mantha suck. I'll drop him on both teams right away.
Hold on. Going back to the last question. Sorry, timeout. Tyler Pertuzzi.
Brad, that's your best work. It really is. Rob Byram says, guys, I'm seriously starting to be annoyed by Mantha. I think he's seeing what Dubois did and is trying to get his ass shipped out of town. What kind of return do you think we can get for him? Sick of the not trying.
He's about on par with Dubois in terms of skill. So Patrick Laine, trade him to Columbus.
Look, we've talked about it before. You know what? We'll save the Mantha trade hypotheticals for a future episode. Joe Delia says, sup, guys? I'm over it. When's the draft?
We don't know. There's rumors.
Don't know. Liz B asks, who are they going to pick at 5th overall? Matt Beniers is my answer. Darren Helm Stand Club says, well, after a 500 start, the light was shining. After this weekend, it is a stark reminder we're still very far from the end of the tunnel. Terrible way to spend my birthday. Hey, happy birthday. Also, is something missing? Maybe some upper tier player with leadership, defensive ability, and experience. I just feel like watching these games have been off. Hashtag number 43 forever. Yakaruta says, Blashill must go. I don't really care who replaces him. This can't go on. Manitoban Machine Never Breaks says, who the hell is Pius Suter?
Yes.
Is it Pius or Pius? I've heard them.
Okay, he played in the OHL for a while, and I always heard Pius Suter. Now all of a sudden it was Pius on NBC,
Suter.
So I have no friggin' clue.
Pius Suter. Just say Pius Suter. That's how he says his name. Red Wings Relativity Scale says, holy hell, can Stevie Bagscape, Blash, and Mantha? Is that allowed? Again.
Honestly.
Jake Nagy says, last week we were feeling good, so I asked a question to bring us back down to earth. This week we're all miserable after watching this dumpster fire led by Blashill, so I'm asking us a question to cheer us up. Which 3 NHL players are you most excited to see get demolished by a Mo Sider hit? I hope he says Brad Marchand through the glass and into the crowd next week.
Corey Perry, step right up.
Corey Perry's very high on that list. That is for damn sure.
Quinn Hughes, because even though it's not even the same draft narrative, but just because it's funny. I almost posted the tweet of Quinn Hughes getting walked and having his ankles broken and falling over, but I held back because I actually really like Quinn Hughes, and I felt it's not his fault. He's a defenseman. It's going to happen to every defenseman.
Welcome to the NHL, basically.
Yeah.
I'll say Corey Perry, Kirby Dach, just because he's already had a thing in the rookie tournament with Kirby Dach, and he was making him his bitch then, so I'd be very pro keeping that going. And I'm just trying to pick John Tavares, just for funsies.
Okay, we're going to move on here to Linda Hull, who says, in all seriousness, where do the Wings go from here?
Great question. I don't have an answer for you.
I hate to say there's nowhere but up, but I'm not sure anymore.
The actual Terry says, I'm tired and have nothing snarky to say. So is it me, or are the Wings simultaneously better than expected, worse than expected, and somehow exactly what I expected? Terry.
Yes. Accurate,
Yeah.
yes.
Wingnut says, fire Blashill. That is all. Caltroit Red Flames says, if you guys haven't done a Mike Milbury minute in regards to the Babcock bullshit that happened today, I demand one, but I imagine it'll have been covered in some fashion. You know us too well. Matt Stafford Stan says, good day, duds. Well, as I alluded to last episode, that familiar feeling of false hope has been replaced by the also familiar feeling of soul-crushing despair. No, I'm not talking about the Red Wings, but about the fearless warrior that is Matthew Stafford. We don't have enough time to delve into his many heroics and good deeds over the years, but what a legend. It also disgusts me to think that the NFL would continue to play its season during our period of mourning. Stafford deserves a ring, so I truly hope wherever he goes, he can achieve that. Jersey time. Favorite Lions jersey combo. Stay Fresh Cheese Bags of Fournier Company. I love their current set. And I think their throwback grays are great.
I'll agree with you about the current ones, but I don't feel the grays. Not for me.
No, sorry. I don't mean the grays. I mean the plain blue with the gray/silver number, I should say.
Oh, they're fine.
You're rude.
I didn't say they were bad. They're fine.
Jake Kiefer says the only thing getting me through this rebuild is knowing the Maple Leafs haven't won a cup since '67. Yeah, whatever cheap pot shots we have to take, we'll take them. Weekend at Bernier's says flashback to me Friday afternoon. Finally a weekend where we can call up Doc Brown and get in the DeLorean and head back to the late 90s and early 2000s and start asserting our dominance on the struggling Blackhawks once again. Me this afternoon. Well, that was a disaster. Babcock redemption tour is absolute trash. He should have made Mike Babcock more accountable for Mike Babcock's actions. Only surprising thing is that we didn't hear Babcock talk about Babcock in the third person like Babcock usually does. Anyway, 6 games.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So bad.
6 games in, who on the roster has been your highlight and who has been your low light? I'll give you a guess on my low light. His name rhymes with Anthony Mantha. Keep up the good work and excuse me while I go set up a folding table to jump through for the game tonight. Go Bills.
The easy answer would be Dylan Larkin, but this is honestly pretty much what I expected of Dylan Larkin this season. So I'm going to go Philip Zadina for the good, Anthony Mantha for the bad.
It's while Evan's on mute, I'll say it'll be Anthony Mantha for the low. It has to be, and if not Zadina, Brome. I've been impressed by him.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Damn it! Why was I on mute? I said Brome. No one will ever know now, though. Brome for the good. I honestly didn't think Mark Stahl was going to be this bad. I didn't expect anything, and I'm disappointed.
Low-key dark horse for the bad. Hronek has not looked anywhere near like himself.
Bad start for Hronek. I keep wanting it to go away, but bad start for Hronek. Elite first line center Luke Glendening says, "Hey fellas, no one should be surprised. 5 regulars out and no visible game plan present. This will be the norm until the COVID listed players return. When they do, the best we can hope is for 500 hockey because Blashill's 60 minutes of low event hell is not a viable game plan." See Prashant's recent tweet breaking down the power play. Yzerman said he expects the team to be competitive, but at this rate, Blash won't see April in Detroit. Certainly not Bilesma. And what the hell does Doug Huda even do around here? Random thought. Do you think Mantha thought he might be traded for Pierre-Luc Dubois? Oh, I don't know. I don't even know if Mantha was ever on the table.
Who knows? Well, they had to offer something because the Red Wings did not have a Patrick Laine to offer, and Anthony Mantha was as close as we were going to get on that.
The Red Wings would not have been able to beat Laine and Roslovic, and I would not have felt comfortable paying more than that.
Not without giving up a premium pick or a prospect, which, given the Red Wings state of the rebuild, you want the younger the better.
I'm going to go back to curling up the fetal position in my bathtub under a long warm shower with a beer while listening to Rem's Everybody Hurts and watching Matt Stafford highlights on repeat on my phone. Stay fresh cheese bags. Mike Babcock and Tony D'Angelo can go drink each other. I have to start proofreading the end of your comments. But I agree. Mom, I'm ready to go to med school, says, "Hey boys and Evan, I finally got around to becoming a patron." Well, thank you for becoming a patron and for that soundbite.
It's actually Ryan's mom. She's infiltrated the Patreon and she's just now harassing you through this avenue.
Either that or she's paid off his brother.
Yeah, the email address is mysonisadisappointment@gmail.com. No question this week other than why does Blash do these confusing things like fourth line starting in the O-zone? Is he really this bad of a coach, or his coaching philosophy is wrong, or something else? I mean, according to everyone, he's a smart hockey mind. Either way, thanks for the pod, guys. Fire Blash, and Ryan, I'll change my name next week, maybe. Thanks, Mom. Slava Kozlov's doppelganger says, "Well, Friday's game just busted my first parlay ever. Thanks for the guaranteed win. Just a joke. I don't blame you. Now that I've been knocked down a few pegs of excitement, I'm in the same mentality as last season. Who is your favorite Russian prospect currently? Drafted, undrafted, already in the NHL, whatever you want."
Kirill Kaprizov.
I mean, I'm just going to go way off the board just for the fun. There's a guy who leads the MHL in goals per game, and his name's Mattva Mitchkov.
Yeah, that's not off the board.
He literally just turned 16, meaning he did most of this while he was 15 years old. he's putting up better numbers at this age than like top 10 picks have done in their draft year. Like, it's crazy. He's not eligible till 2023, I think. It's nuts.
Mitchkov is the right answer there in my mind, but if not, then Podkolzin, just because he was rumored to the Red Wings for so long that draft that I'm very curious to see how he develops.
Oh, is this supposed to be Red Wings related?
No. Any Russian prospect. Lars, the prophet of the towering behemoth. Oh, it's got a lot to say. That was great fun. Another thing that is fun is the third verse of the Muppet Show, and it goes like this. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like a kind of torture to have to watch the show. Maybe it's time to run this as the entrance music for the next Red Wings home game. I'm guessing by now you've been beating the deadest of dead horses, Coach Blashill, Evan with a 9-iron, Brad with the invectives of an angry hockey man, and Ryan with the sarcasm of a black belt cynic. That's a brilliant illustration of us. But for real, is there any reason in any of the ever living hells that is Red Wings fandom where you can motivate keeping him on as head coach? 6 years he's been here doing whatever it is Blashill does. I watch the games as often as possible, and I can't say what identity, style, or strategy of the team is besides low event lethargy. We just got trashed by a team that most of us talked about before the season as, yeah, we'll be bad, but we won't be Blackhawks bad. The Red Wings made Chicago look like contenders tonight. It's infuriating to watch this team drop past themselves into oblivion. What are they waiting for? The next ice age so we won't have to bother with hockey anymore? Is there a strategy called dump and don't chase?
Hey, they had a few good power play zone entries today, at least, and they didn't use the Detroit deep dish drop pass on any of them. It's amazing. They tried something new and it worked.
I didn't.
It's bizarre.
It's because they were like, oh, I haven't called us out. Now we can't do it anymore. It's embarrassing.
No, they didn't want to give us
of
the
the
sponsorship rates.
He goes on to say, Blashill has to go. There's no excuses anymore. Seems like a nice enough guy, but it's been 6 years of platitudes, and we need to get the puck deep and work hard is more than enough. Do we really want him to develop the young diamonds we have in the pipeline? Do we want Niederbach, Raymond, Wallander, Berggren, and the behemoth to hate hockey like Mantha looked like he was today? Do we want Athanasiou, Mantha, and the Cholowski treatment for the new batch on their way in? No, give me Lambert, Gronberg, or Larionov, who loves the game like I love wings and pussycats. Because this shit is getting old. NBC makes me want to vomit, and Babcock can piss right off. Lars, you truly are.
There's a lot of truths in that comment.
Time for some Reddit comments. HZ40 with a really good comment here. When will the pain end? It's actually a trick question. The pain is constant, much like the universe. There never is a beginning, and there never will be an end. That's the only thought I have. Matter Red says, how hot is Blashill's seat right now? Provided Gallant even wants to come back this season, is it time to bring him in?
Yes.
In reality, the seat is warm. I wouldn't call it hot yet. As much as we can shout for it, I think he still has a lot of Yzerman's patience.
It is 6 games into the season. He does have time to turn this around. So given that Steve Yzerman's relatively new to the scene in Detroit here under the Blashill tenure, we're sitting here with the experience of 5 years of this garbage. Yzerman's got a year and change of this. So realistically, it's not happening anytime soon, even if it's a possibility.
Russell18 says, do you have any irrational hockey hatreds? Yeah, I mean, mine is when people say offsides, like drives me off the frickin' wall.
Dude, I never noticed that people said that until you mentioned it, and now I hear it all the time. I thought I didn't know that was a real thing, and now I hear it all the time.
It's an affliction. It's bad.
Totally ruined my sense of reality.
Yeah,
among other things. But
I have so many I couldn't possibly remember them all right off the top of my head right now. But most traditional hockey platitudes set me right off. I won't even say all of them, but I'll say most.
All right, Evan, think of a number from 1 to 35.
35.
Divided by 7 is 5. Okay. ZZE0001 says, what does Taco have to do to be a regular overreaching vets? So what does Hirose have to do to stay in this lineup?
Be good on the power play and be passable at 5-on-5 is what would be the standard on a normal hockey team, given what history has taught us about how this regime makes lineup decisions. He has to become a Selke contender within the next 3.5 periods.
Question here from a first-time commenter. Gorsh Kings has been listening for about 2 years now. First time posting a question. It's been asked and answered a million times, I'm sure. But what are your favorite Red Wings of all time and favorite non-Red Wings of all time?
Favorite Red Wing of all time for me is Stevie. So past and current.
Lidstrom.
My favorite Red Wing of all time is Brendan Shanahan. And yes, it does hurt that he's helping the Leafs.
And favorite non-Red Wing of all time for me is Pavel Bure.
This answer switches for me a lot. I can't think of one single player that I love more than the rest. I don't know.
I'll say Sidney Crosby.
Ew.
Well, that's gonna get you some hate.
I don't care. That guy's been nasty his entire life.
Who else do I love watching? Paul Kariya is a great answer here, actually.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Time for a couple Twitter questions. Hashtag AskWWPs. Peter Andrianopoulos says, do any of you guys have Gerard Gallant's phone number asking for a friend? Yeah, but
we'd be calling him nonstop.
He blocked my number, actually. And Randy Zick says, do you think Zadina is going to get some more ice time during the power plays? He should be. He's generating some huge plays during 5-on-5. Is he due for more power play time?
Well, I would be replacing if he was eligible to play right now, I would swap him and Mantha just for the hell of it to see what happens. They fill the same role, and Mantha sure as hell ain't doing it effectively right now, so might as well give Zadina a look on the first unit. Won't happen, but I would like it to, at least temporarily.
All right, guys, with that, we're going to release Brad to go watch his beloved Buffalo Bills in their AFC Conference Championship.
They're losing now, so great timing.
We'd like to thank you all for tuning in and putting up with the mayhem and the red in the faceness today. We'd like to thank our name level sponsors, Arjun Shankar, Yves Bartel on behalf of the Sarah Grand Foundation, Brett Bailey, Taylor Tadgill, Kyle, Ryan Hubbard, RA, the Detroit Deep Dish Drop Pass, Zach Spring, Citizen High Five, Cody Stark, Greach, Jeremiah Dobo, Jake Kiefer, Tyrone Biggums, Brand Biggle Bag of Dildos, Andrew Bohan, Scott Martin, Jacob Turner, Matt McKay, Craig Kibble, Brandon M., Matthew M. Rice, Luke Johnson, Kalen Wood, Hassam Al-Qassem, Hana Lee, Sam Bankson, Zach Van, Josh Yelton, Trevor Pevavar, Evans Bingo Card, Ashley Van Conant, Red Wings, Relativity Scale, Connor Leighton, Danny Jr., Matt Keeler, Elite First Line Center Luke Glendenning, Antonio Gracias, John Evans, Joseph Minama, Quaz, and Stan Olsen. Thank you all so much. We will talk to you midweek. Stay tuned.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.